A couple minutes into the assay and already, poor nSybs are already spasming at the bottom of their dish. See how nice the shot I can get of that. See, they're just laying there on their backs. I think what happened is they were up on the ceiling of the arena and then they just fell off and they can't right themselves. Oh, there's one that righted itself to the right there, but it's definitely just kind of, you know, walking around pretty incapacitated. C819s are doing their thing where they just freeze wherever they are. You can see the C shape there. I can get it. Yeah, that's. See, now they got started a little bit, but then they stopped right away. And you can see where they've tucked their tails underneath them. Alright, R30 by TrpA1, still walking around. This is about, I don't know, 4 minutes into the assay. And then R64s, maybe, I don't know, still walking around. And this is the R30 control. They're across to trans-Tango, so there's no temperature sensitive manipulation. Now, in my experience, what happens is that the R30s start going down towards the bottom, and instead of just like walking right across the food, they eventually stop and start consuming. So I wouldn't say that they like fall to the bottom or can't stay at the top. It's more like just sort of certain proportion of them go to the bottom at some point, and then they wind up staying on the food. One of the biggest points I want to make from the controls here, the nSyb and the C18, is that if you, let's say you have the phenotype of having a very distended body filled with dyed food. Well, if you do something to, say, take away some of the neurons that are required for that phenotype. See, now there are a couple on the far left dish. There are two animals that have stayed still for a while on the surface of the food. I think that they are drinking. Anyway, what I meant was, if you do some perturbation where you think where suddenly you don't get the phenotype anymore, and you think that that's instructive, it may actually be that you're causing a different phenotype, which makes it impossible for them to eat. So it's really important to watch the flies and see if you've introduced some new behavior that makes it impossible for them to eat, like in the case of C819 and nSyb. They're incapacitated, so they can't have a full abdomen. it's going to be very interesting to tease apart what aspect of the physiology of the R30 animal is affected. You know, one thing could be that the food is just more tasty to them. It could be a peripheral change. Or the food could taste the same, but then they detect it differently, or some part of their motor program with eating is just hyper activated. So we're 8 minutes into the assay now, maybe 9, and definitely have not had like a mass migration of the R30s with TrpA1, just all at the same time sitting on the food. I can see when I just look myself, not through the camera, that some of the animals are already hyper full. Their abdomens are just glowing practically, like they're little green light bulbs. So a nice thing about the lack of mass migration of the R30s with TrpA1 is that it seems like they're still mobile. It's not like they're locked in place. It seems that when they find the food and they get immobile enough to, well, not immobile enough, but when they stay there long enough to fill their abdomens, and they walk away. Because I definitely see some that are extremely loaded with food, but they're walking around. Like there's one in the back. Oh, I could sort of zoom in. Let's see what I can see. I don't know if I can make this any brighter. But towards the back there, can you see? Not the one that just fell. And really full abdomen. So it's going to be interesting to see too, the one that's on the top there. It's also really full. You might be able to see that. I'm going to take a, well, I don't know if I can take a picture while I'm filming. I'm not going to do it. See, now it's walking along. So it's totally mobile. See a bunch of them there on the surface now at the same time. This is about 11 or 12 minutes into the assay. So I'd like to make this assay short as possible. Because I don't want to see any secondary effects. So I'm going to go and get my tray now, my metal tray. Just transfer these into. I'll let this sit here. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. You can see all the way on the left that most of them are on the surface of the food now. So I wonder if I could trim the assay maybe a little shorter and not get that effect. Because it's one thing when they first load up with the food, and then it's another whole thing when they go back to the food. So it'll be interesting to see what percentage of the animals are all the way filled up before you have this, what I'm guessing is returning to the food. Okay.